Hey gang, sorry I'm not here today. I'm at a PBIS training with a lot of other teachers, so be good today. Help your subs out. So hopefully you've already done the cracker activity and you kind of noticed how your saliva can actually change the flavor and stuff. I know it was kind of hard to notice, but if you noticed it, and what was happening is your enzymes are starting to chemically change the material in your mouth. And without saliva, I know I've said this a couple times, it would take hours upon hours to digest food just from your mouth to your stomach. So, a little fun, fascinating moment there. We are going to dig into the digestive system today. So remember, a good student adds more to their notes. So even if you're using the exact PowerPoint, I do expect you to red, yellow, green, memory tricks, keywords, underline things, cross them out, put them in seventh grader language. So if I come back and check and count tomorrow, one of the things I will be checking is the interaction with your notes. And then after this, we move into frogs. And so this is the last day of digestive system. Really think about today, and because when we start frogs Wednesday, you're going to notice that their digestive tract is exactly the same as ours. That's why we're using frogs after digestion. So bear with me, I have to do it this way because when I go to full screen, something weird happens. So digestive system, the first thing that's really prevalent in your digestive system is something called enzymes. And enzymes speed up a chemical reaction. So the best way I can explain it here, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to hopefully do this. You guys know how well I did last time I did this. But let's see if I can make you look at it. So here's my lovely board. So here's a hill. La la la. Okay, and I'm going to write Mr. Truck. See, I'm such a good drawer. Mr. Truck is on the hill. Okay, an enzyme, the way I explain it, is an enzyme is something that would speed up the reaction and push it over the edge. So something that might have taken 15 minutes with an enzyme will take 5. They are all over your digestive system. And the first place you will see them, though, is your saliva. And that's what happened with the crackers. So when you started chewing, your mouth mechanically was making things smaller and smaller, but that's just a physical change. When you add in enzymes, those are what are speeding and actually changing the flavor and changing things, starting to change them into sugars. So that's enzymes. They are chemicals that help speed up a chemical reaction. They do a lock and key method. That's more high school, so I'll save that for you for high school. But they fit into different proteins that are in your food as a lock and key, and they kind of help break it up. That's what that picture is about. So those are enzymes. And again, feel free to right now write something that I've said. Maybe draw the truck picture, write it in your own words, make it a red, yellow, or green. So many enzymes are required. They also happen in those helper organs I talked to you about. So they also incorporate enzymes later in digestion. So if you remember, the helper organs are pancreas, gallbladder, and liver. So hopefully you still have that. Those are the only things that don't come in direct contact with the food. They assist in a way. So that's that page. Now, this is the quick version of your digestive system. And again, this is kind of what we're going to see in frogs. So I do expect you to not necessarily know where things are located, but know what organs are in what organ system. So I should be able to give you all of these on a test, and you can relate those to the digestive system. But really quickly, on this screen or somewhere, make sure you get this down, the function of the digestive system. So I'm going to repeat it a couple times to make sure that you are writing it down. The function and purpose, what it does to maintain homeostasis. The digestive system absorbs nutrients and removes waste. Repeat that because I'm hoping you are all writing. Absorbs nutrients. That's the part everyone forgets about. They always just think poop. But absorbs nutrients. Absorbs nutrients, and removes waste. Absorbs nutrients and removes waste. Hey guys, it absorbs nutrients and removes waste. And we'll talk about what part does that. So if you can tell on the screen again, it's one long tube from start to end, besides those 3 helper organs. It's one long tube, and there's certain parts that do different things. So let's get started. First one is good old mouth. Start chewing. You guys notice that with the cracker. So you have your mouth. Nose is technically part of respiratory, but there you go. Then, next one, you have your esophagus. I know I talked about this in respiratory system, but you do have 2 tubes in your throats. That's when you say food went down the wrong tube. It literally went down the wrong tube. You have your esophagus. I don't know why I'm pointing the screen. You guys can't see it. You have your esophagus, which is like your throat tube. That's for food and water. And you have your trachea, which is for air. And you have an epiglottis that kind of says air, food, air, food. But sometimes it can't keep up if you're like laughing while you're eating or something, and food goes down the air tube, and that's when you choke or gag and get it back up in the fun way. But you have mouth, and then it goes down to the tube is your esophagus. After the esophagus, if you notice here, it hits your stomach. Your stomach secretes an enzyme, an acid. Your stomach also has a liquid lining, a mucous membrane that it rebuilds every 2 hours. If the acid in your stomach, which is a 2.0 on the pH scale, meaning like it could burn your skin, it's almost the same level as hydrochloric acid. Fun facts today. But the acid in your stomach helps break down food more. But again, at this time, we are still just breaking food down. We have not absorbed anything. So we are just making it smaller and smaller. Another little fun fact, if something were to break through the mucus wall, you would have what's called an ulcer, which is known as a hole, basically, in your stomach, and the acid is seeping out. You guys might have also heard acid reflux. If you see on the screen right now, if you have a pyloric sphincter, which I know sphincter makes you guys giggle, but those are just muscles that open and close. The sphincter in your stomach, if it's not working properly, the acid comes up right here, and then you have acid reflux, which you might have heard, which is also not fun because acid is literally coming up and it's painful. But you have different gases made here as well because there's a bunch of physical and chemical changes happening, and then you get burping and all that fun stuff and your stomach rumbling. But anyway, mouth, esophagus, stomach. After your stomach, you have your helper organs. Get those here. Okay, which are adding something in the process. So a little quick review. Liver is your poison control center. Your pancreas regulates insulin and sugars because too much or too little sugar is never good. And your gallbladder secretes bile, which keeps the process nice and smooth and helps moves and separates fat. But again, those don't come in contact with the food. So technically, food has gone mouth, esophagus, stomach still. And those helper organs have secreted what they needed to secrete to help aid in digestion. Then we get back into where the food touches. So after the stomach is an organ called the small intestine, which if you remember from Friday, it's not small at all. It gets the name small from being diameter. It's a very small diameter, but it's a very long tube. It averages to be about 6 meters. That's very long. So the reason it is so long is this is the whole point of eating happens in the small intestine. Small intestine is where absorption happens. I'm going to repeat that because I'm hoping most of you or all of you are writing this down. The small intestine is where the absorption of nutrients takes place. The small intestine is where the absorption of nutrients takes place. So this is the whole point, which is why it's such a long tube, because it takes a while. And feel free to do a little research. Make sure it's only about this, but the small intestine is way more complicated than that. It has these little cilia and everything in it that help do the actual absorbing, and it does it through diffusion. Hope you guys remember that word. It's all coming together here. Isn't that crazy how learning happens? After the small intestine comes the large intestine. If you look on the screen here, I always say it kind of frames the small intestine. The large intestine is after the small intestine. So after all the good's been absorbed, what's left? Yep, you probably said poop or crap of some sort, hopefully. So the stuff we don't want, the waste product. But right now we have to get ready for it to leave. So the large intestine does mainly drying up the waste and also packing it up, if that makes sense. So it dries it up and kind of packs it and gets it ready for exiting. So again, small intestine is absorption right here in the middle. Then it goes into your large intestine. Next, we have appendix. So the appendix, if you guys will talk about it more in evolution, but it is known as a vestigial organ. So it's an organ that, according to science, used to have a purpose, but no longer does. So I don't know if you or know someone who has lost or had their appendix removed. I am one. It is not a fun process. It was actually quite painful. But if it bursts, it can be a huge problem. But it does nothing for us. Just a theory, it's not proven, behind what the appendix used to do is digest raw meat. We no longer do that. We actually know if you have raw meat, it can actually make you sick. But back before we were who we are, it is in theory that it used to digest raw meat, but it does not serve a purpose anymore. It's just kind of gets in the way. So hopefully yours stays intact and has no problem, but it eventually does stop. And then the last tube, so that doesn't really do anything. So large intestine, after the large intestine is the rectum, which is actually a tube. This is where constipation happens a lot. And then at the very end you have anus. And remember, the anus is just the opening, or you guys might know it as your butthole, but there you go. We got to say the awkward stuff here, but it's a body part. So that's the stuff. That's the path from start to finish. I do expect you to know the organs. The main one you have to know the function though is the small intestine, which is where absorption takes place. Just a couple other things I'd like to go over. Digestive system that is not, oh, I wish I could show you. Remind me to show you the rabbit when I can show full screen, because I actually am awesome and had it eat a carrot and turn into poop. But I can't show you because when I get into full screen, it goes away. You guys know me in technology. So I will show you when I get back. So someone's in charge of reminding me to show you the rabbit pooping. But here are two. So a complete digestive system is a continuous tube with two openings. That's us. Start to finish. A tube within a tube. Then there is incomplete. It's a pouch-like cavity, and I want you to think about this. There is only one opening. So where they eat, they also get rid of waste. I'm going to let you guys think about that for a little bit. These tend to be less complex organisms, as you can see on the screen. So incomplete is a pouch-like cavity for digestion with only one opening. And again, I need to show you this. But a polyp or a medusa is an example of something. So the food goes in and it changes and then it comes back out this way. Disadvantages is feeding is a lot slower, and then bad breath is me being funny. So hopefully today you've done the cracker activity. I would like you, hopefully, I don't know if you guys are all doing this together or separately, that's up to the sub, but no matter who you are, I would like you guys to take about 5 minutes right now and process through your notes. Answer the learning target. So think about if something were to go wrong in the digestive system. What are some things the digestive system could do or change to get back into homeostasis? So remember the 3 questions I'd like you to answer with any organ system is function of the system, major organs, and then if something were to go wrong, how it would adjust to maintain homeostasis. Other things to really start thinking about that we're going to hit pretty hard after nervous system is how systems work with each other. So now, for example, we've just covered digestive system. Pick any system and say, how would digestive help, I don't know, respiratory, and how does respiratory help digestive? So answer those 3 questions. Take some time to interact with your notes. At the very least, red, yellow, green. Answer the 3 questions and the learning target. If you still have extra time, there's vocab visuals. But yes, I do expect notes to be interacted with. So cracker activity, this, vocab, and you can quiz each other to make sure you know. So far we have covered, a little reminder, skeletal system, those 3 questions. Muscular system, those 3 questions. Respiratory, circulatory, those 3 questions. Excretory, remember we did very fast. And then now digestive. So there are 6 systems I do hope you guys can study and try to get to a green on. But tomorrow we will review digestive. I will show you the rabbit. And then we will start talking about frog dissection. So I hope you guys had a great Monday and a great weekend, and I will see you when I get back. Bye.